It's a fact you're not here. You ain't even real, but you still bring me fear. You make my bones so tired that my soul stands up. But now I'm starting to need to bleed to fill this cup. It's like I'm starting to need to bleed to fill this cup. Oh.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Working Wing, the nebulous online entity where whenever it strikes our fancy, we hop online to rant about current issues from our unique working leftist perspective. My name is Tim Schultz, and joining me, as always, my dear friend, longtime debate partner, and a man who makes Department of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg looks like Norfolk executive Alan Shaw. Just kidding. They're practically the same person, but he's Killian Collins. Killian Collins is here.
This is my best. This is my best Sneaky Pete impression. Sir, do you want to say anything about the Iowa caucus? Hello, Tim. Thank you for that wonderful intro and just a wonderful day in general. But we are here to talk about something that Israel and Ohio likes to hide up, and that is what actually happens in East Palestine.
Yes.
So we're here to talk about that. So if you have been under a rock the last couple of weeks, you might not have heard about the derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, wherein a train car carrying various tankards of hazardous materials derailed.
Excuse me.
No problem.
That might have been some particulate air from the literal chemical inferno they started right next to a residential neighborhood just a couple weeks ago.
Yes. But anyway, after this train was derailed, I can't remember. Did the EPA decide to do the controlled burn, or was it?
Yes. So actually, if you in our private chat here, I posted a timeline, a CNN.com timeline of the events of this entire incident. One thing looking at this timeline that is interesting is there's definitely a people don't trust the EPA of it all, and you can kind of see why, because they do things like they say on the 5th, within 48 hours after the incident, the EPA is saying everything's fine. The air is fine. The water is fine. Everything's fine. And then the next day, they're like, well, okay. You know that thing that's totally fine? It might actually cause a huge explosion. So now we need to do a controlled burn of this totally fine thing. And you all should leave your homes, even though we had been telling you that it was fine.
Yeah.
And then they were brought back 3 days later, the residents.
And that's what's amazing is that I would think you would be able to trust an institution if they're saying hey, we were wrong. You need to wait a week or a couple weeks. And if people are going, yeah, I need to go in my home. They need, people are probably going to want to go I want to be taken care of. But given this kind of lie about, 3 days later is fine, and then you get home and you look in your creek and all the fish are dead.
Exactly. The fish dying when they're saying that the water is fine is just, it doesn't track. It doesn't compute. And the EPA can say all day that everything is, but the thing I especially realized in all the coverage and all the discussion around this, no one trusts the EPA. Have you ever listened to the Slate Money podcast?
I have not. What they say?
Well, you listen to when you want to get stirred up and angry, you listen to Alex Jones.
Not well.
when I get stirred up and I want to get angry, I listen to Slate Money, which is hosted by the most smug and obnoxious neoliberal centrist finance guy in the world named Felix Salmon. And even he in this issue was no one trusts the EPA. He's like, I was living in New York City after 9/11, where like within days of 9/11, they were saying, oh, don't worry, it's fine to be in downtown New York. Everything's all right. And people are still coming up sick from like being around the air, around the scene of the World Trade Center in the days and weeks after 9/11. People are still coming up sick from that.
Yes.
But the EPA was on the scene at that time too, saying everything is fine.
Yeah.
The EPA's like main principle seems to be maintain public order and calm above actually figuring out what chemicals are present and what the actual health hazards are.
Right. It's kind of similar, like if you had like a Catholic child protection league, but all they ever did is just cover up for pedophile priests. It's pretty much that same kind of principle of like, well, we need to smother these stories more than we need to actually resolve these issues, because that's really hard and costs a lot of money, and it really just, we don't look very good in the first place from it. So if we just ignore it and try to sweep it under the rug, I was going to say that this disaster is also, I happen to notice that there's like the outrage is still persisting, which I'm glad about. But like, I look at some place like with this, and then what happened in Jackson, Mississippi, where it's like they found out all their water had lead in it after like years of not maintaining this. And, you know, you found out about Brett Favre, like taking money from Mississippi too. It's the same kind of issue where what I was going to point out about it is that it's like, I can't remember who looked this up where I found this, but East Palestine is like it's a mostly white residential area, mostly white folks around it. And I think that there was an effort to kind of like, I mean, because like when the Jackson, Mississippi story came out, like people, like I was pissed about it, but like the outrage didn't stay in the media for like weeks and weeks. It was kind of it was kind of forgotten about a little bit for a mostly black population.
You're absolutely right. There is a like quote unquote like every town USA quality to East Palestine, Ohio. That
which just means it's just whiter.
It is. It's yes. It's media racism. It's I don't know, institutional racism, but like in the public eye.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that like, I mean, I'm glad
it's
the media,
similar case to like why when little white girls go missing, it's always a huge national story. And when little girls of color go missing, it's written off as a statistic.
It's just another, well, you know, hey, these things, well,
probably an unstable home life, you know, wink, wink. Like
it's like if you go to the doctor and you're 65 and you say you have memory problems, and the doctor just tells you, well, Joe, these things happen. You're this age. And then they ignore the dementia until you're 75 and you aren't able to communicate with your family. So
or they ignore the dementia until you're 80 years old and trying to pay attention in intelligence briefings about
I mean, and it's so crazy too, because it's like they seemed like Joe Biden.
Did Joe know that he was in Kiev this week?
that's the thing. I'm like,
did they tell him what he was doing?
Oh my god,
that's mean. But
well, it'd be mean if he like didn't have power. Like that's the thing. Like because then that would be punching down. But like, as far as I'm concerned, whenever Trump has dementia, or if he already has it, like I will keep punching up at him all day, every single day of the week.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. There's nothing we can say about Joe Biden that isn't fundamentally punching up.
I mean, yeah, that's the deal. I was gonna say, while we're on Trump, I was gonna say another scary thing is that this left open another wide open lane for the fake Trump populism, where he can pretend like he gives a shit about people by being a person. So basically just another critic of Joe Biden and the EPA for doing exactly what Trump wants to do with the EPA, as in use it to protect the integrity of the corporations. I mean, of course he's saying it's like, I would do something about Nord Stream. I do nothing about Nord Stream Southern, but it's also like, well, yeah, you're party.
I mean, he did. Yeah, he did deregulate massive parts of the rail industry.
Right. Exactly. It's like, yeah, this is the type that this is your policy, man.
Right.
This is just
this
is just another like Democrat adopting a corporate friendly policy that is supposed to like supposed to get Republicans to vote for him who wouldn't vote for him anyway. And this is the result we get. The result we get is that everyone gets poisoned. And everyone who just, it's the only way you can escape it is just by not living in that area. And plus, I should mention too, is that like, isn't East Palestine, isn't that like in like a base area where the Ohio River Basin is? And doesn't that all flow into the Mississippi?
It does. But we're not supposed to be. If you're worried about that, you get called a conspiracy theorist.
Which is that's...
All right. Speaking of being the conspiracy theorist, I'm going to kind of sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but there is something weird about the way experts talk, specifically when it comes to the science of like what's happening in East Palestine.
Yeah.
There was a story I read earlier this week, and there was like a quote from like it was like quoting experts, but they're like, oh, it's like almost impossible to actually connect, chemical exposure to physical symptoms. And I think anyone who's just looking at it with like a couple of like working brain cells is like, all right, like 1,000 tons of toxic material spilled into this community, and now the fish are dying and pets are dying and people are having headaches. That like, it's pretty obvious what's going on there.
Yeah.
But like I commented on that on Reddit, and I had someone go like, oh no, when it comes to like epidemiology like this, there's so many factors you have to look at, and there's so many like different steps of causation you have to prove. And I'm like, is that actual science, or is that the results of dozens of class action lawsuits against industries?
Yeah.
Is that the result of billions of dollars like poured into like bunk science to throw, to confound the issue of things like Superfund sites and stuff like that? Because like this is not a new issue in this country.
Yeah, they kind of like use those kind of like debased funk. It makes you kind of think of those lawyers who would defend like the archdiocese whenever there'd be like a case about like molestation, and like they would use they'd use some like debunked science about false memories and stuff.
Yeah.
To like and that shit's totally fucking fake, but it's enough to start getting a jury convinced. I mean, when I sat on a jury, they definitely had different experts on there that weren't qualified to be talking about what they're talking about. But the prosecution or defense tries to like throw them out for it. So
yeah, I think back to, actually, this kind of just occurred to me, but we had something similar play out in our own hometown of Appleton, Wisconsin, which has been a hotbed of the paper industry. Going back to its founding in like the 1820s. But I mean, from going up there, the Fox River is an unusable fucking sludge pit that like literally glows neon green under the right light. And I think Kimberly-Clark and Appleton Papers, the two largest paper manufacturers in that area, are on the hook for cleaning it up. But that was like a 20-year long legal process.
Mm-hmm.
They fought the city and the county tooth and nail at every single juncture to avoid any blame for having to clean that stuff up.
Yeah. Which is sad, because like they're making all the profit, and they're getting all the benefit. They
are. And I mean, it's also kind of like makes you scratch your head that it wasn't illegal for them to just literally dump toxic sludge into the Fox River for like a century.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like it probably wasn't until like the 1970s when like Allegheny County and the Wisconsin EPA was like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't be letting these factories literally dump industrial waste right into this water. Why can't our kids go swimming down by the creek anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was probably the Environmental Protection Act that started changing all that too. Because I remember in middle school, I had teachers who like grew up in Appleton. They said like we were swimming in that river when we were kids, and that's not happening no more. But and it's funny because it's like it was probably very unsafe before that, but it's just that we didn't have we didn't have a regulation. We didn't like a regulatory institution that would just be able to call them out and be able to do that. But I mean, at this point, we have these institutions that are just kind of for show, that just kind of pretend to do it. The only one that really does their job is the IRS, and all they do to get their money is like target poor people because they're able to get more cash. They're able to get more cash out of them than they are the rich. So that's a huge problem too. It's a big problem just to be able to have these institutions where like, because it starts doing the libertarian argument, because they start going, well, these are just wasteful. They don't even do anything. And like, well, they're supposed to be doing something. They're just not doing it properly. They're not functioning properly. And that's the huge fucking problem, is that you do need an institution and a government. You need an entity that is powerful enough to be able to spank these corporations and be able to make them pay a price, or they're not going to exist anymore.
You're absolutely right. I actually, as I was like sitting down getting ready for this, I watched Pete Buttigieg did like an interview on one of the local Ohio stations, and just the tone of how he was talking. I don't know. Did you read his letter? Did you read his letter that he sent over the weekend to Norfolk?
Oh no, was it a strongly worded letter?
No, honestly, the letter itself, what I read of it anyways, sounded more like he was talking to like giving PR advice to a corporate client. It was a lot of like Norfolk needs to be seen. Norfolk needs to be seen doing everything it can. Norfolk, needs to assure the population of this. Norfolk needs to, promise to do that. Norfolk, it was, yeah. And then, Pete. And then in this interview, it was very much like, I really hope this will convince the rail industry to go along with being regulated. It was a lot of just, he's kind of just begging these rail companies to be like, guys, please let me do a little bit of regulation of you, please. Just a little bit, just the regulatory tip. I promise you.
Pete, you need to be Pete. If you're watching, which I know you're not, you need to be like a fucking Ohio GOP person talking. Like, you need to attacking a person who wants to say that a fucking person who's trans can like use the bathroom of the gender they're identifying as. Okay,
yeah, get angry. Get us angry about Get angry.
Like shit. If you get half as angry, that's a start. But like we're looking about for that rage, but that's like for like as these Republicans feel about this cultural bullshit that's like doesn't really affect their lives. We're looking for that sort of anger they feel about that, but reflected in like making a corporation take accountability for something. And right now, it's like there's hardly any difference between Republicans and Democrats. It's just sad right now because like Republicans are trying to act like they're fucking like they're fucking Jane Goodall right now and say like, well, we just like, we didn't know about that. And on the other side, what's really sad to me too, is I'm seeing like a bunch of fucking regular people. Well, it's mostly just idiots on our politics and just just liberals on the internet who are just saying that, well, Ohio voted Republican and this is what you get. And it's an argument that I have
seen so much. Yeah, I've seen that so much.
Oh my God. It is so fucking sad because it's if you apply that same logic, then it's like, okay, well, everyone in Texas doesn't deserve to have abortion rights. They don't deserve to have it because they live there and that's the way you vote. It's like, well, there's so many fucking people that don't vote like that. That like it's just like, yeah, there's a whole it's a democracy. It's depending on who's fucking voting and like who's controlling what.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like there's problems with it, yeah, for fucking sure. But it's like if you're gonna say that, okay, if you want to run a fucking political party, if you want to have political power, you cannot be saying that Americans are deserving to suffer. Like that is the first fast track way to make sure that you're unpopular. Is to say that, like, yes, I want America to fucking lose. Yes, I want Americans to suffer because they deserve it. It's fucking insane to me. It is a golden gift to not only just Republicans, but to any demagogue that wants to walk in and do whatever the fuck they want for themselves. Because it's an open lane. It's really just there's no one stepping up to the plate about this.
Right. And as far as like leaving an open lane to demagogues, I mean that's been the Democrats' whole deal for 40 years now. Ever since they got in bed with Reagan in the 80s.
Yeah.
They decided that they did not care about like the working class. And when you create openings like that, and like a big number to keep in mind here, I think, is the number $850 million. That is the amount of money that the rail industry has spent on political activity, both candidate contributions and lobbying, since I think it was 1998.
Damn, Tim, coming in with the statistics, man.
And that's that's slightly. It's like 52 to 48% Republican Democrat. The Democrats have made hundreds of millions of dollars from railroad contributions. And so, yes, Buttigieg can go there and say we need Republicans to come to the table. They do, but they also need Democrats to, I don't know, can they be expected to say no to rail money? And how do they, I mean, I think the answer is they haven't, but how do you regulate an industry that you take so much money from?
Yeah, that's a big problem. And then that's a big problem is it's like, because these Democrats, they are what makes a mainstream Democrat more powerful than like a grassroots progressive is that they have the corporate backing. They can advertise to people. They can like, it's money really fucking talks in our elections, which is like the biggest fucking problem. But how do you fix that when all these corporations are giving that away? How do you square that circle when how we get politicians in the first place to legislate these laws is essentially just through bribery, is just through bribing these corporations to say that I'm going to do what I'm going to do for you. And not the people. You're the people. You as a corporation, you're the people. As Citizens United did rule.
It's tricky. Citizens United is the big obstacle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I was reading something about potential Democrats to step up in the post Joe Biden era, and someone mentioned Pritzker, the governor of Illinois,
okay,
who is himself a billionaire, but has shown himself to be actively pursuing a progressive agenda in Illinois. He raised the state income tax. He ended bail in the state recently.
Yeah, Lori Lightfoot was talking about Chicago UBI, which is like, that's a great idea.
They are up to some interesting stuff in Illinois.
Yeah,
but and they were they made the point of maybe that's where progressive change has to happen because billionaires are immune to influence. But I don't know, man.
Well, I mean, that kind of goes back to the Reform Party, and it's like, well, the Reform Party was a big that was probably the most popular third party that that we've had in the last 20, 30 years, and it was headed by a billionaire.
It was,
and that's the thing is, it's and there were some things that Ross Perot said that versus the other candidates that are yeah, that's a good point, but it's also, do you want to have all that influence? Do we trust this billionaire to do it? Do you trust Elon Musk when he decides to run? And it's he has all these. I mean, there's a bunch of people that do, and that's what's sad is it's they're willing to use the perception of how they want to view themselves in the media, which these billionaires have spent all this money to have this public persona that they want to have like untarnished and like look good like this. Like it's like Bill Gates ain't wearing a fucking sweater like for nothing. He doesn't just decide to wear that every day. He wants to not look like a super rich guy. Like that's like that's.
But I mean, Pritzker, even just like presiding over the legalization of weed and ending the practice of bail, those two things are like
that's a big step.
Progressive action points that are huge. Yeah.
I mean, those are, to me, those are almost kind of like, if there's a demagogue that comes in, like I could definitely see a Republican who leans more libertarian, like ending prohibition of marijuana. I can see that happening, and then using that as kind of a springboard to pass like a bunch of more tyrannical let corporations do whatever the fuck they want kind of bills, or just kind of let the free reign, like just let it go on that, or just weaken institutions that are supposed to hold these type of things accountable.
Yes.
Yeah, or just, or kind of just do what Trump did, just like, fill it with his cronies that are like, like Betsy DeVos, like just like let her just gut this out like he wants to, or because it wasn't who was the head of the who's the head of the EPA? Who was gutting the EPA when Trump was in office? Was it like
it was someone from industry. I know that much.
Fucking, I want to think it's what's his name from Texas, like.
Scott Pruitt.
Okay. It sounded familiar. But I mean, it really just kind of, all I'm trying to say is that, like, I mean, it's obvious to you and me, but like to anyone out there that thinking that the Republicans are going to be helping them out of the situation, yeah, all they're going to be doing is like putting in people to gut it. But the Democratic alternative is that, no, I want to put in Pete Buttigieg because he beat Bernie in Iowa and he dropped out when Joe Biden told him to. So he gets that EPA job.
Yes. Well, no, he's DOT.
DOT, yes, Department of Transportation, but
EPA is
not his
purview. It's Michael Rubin or something like that. I was just reading his name.
Michael Rubin.
Michael Reagan.
Yeah, Michael Reagan.
Yeah. It's it's a mess. It's and I don't know. I have like how do we what's the best thing to do going forward on this issue? And kind of like what you were saying with like Jacksonville or Jackson Hole, Mississippi. It's important to keep this in the media. It's important to remember what Norfolk is saying now. It's important to remember what Buttigieg is saying now. It's important to not let this fade, and then like 2 years from now be like, oh yeah, remember that time a corporation spilled a huge amount of shit in there? Well, now people are developing cancer and they're fighting them in court.
Yes. I would rather keep this in the news than any of the more of the fucking weather balloon shoot downs to try to stoke Americans up to go to war with China and Russia. So I'm not too stoked for any of that. I'd rather keep that garbage. I'd rather keep any of that fear mongering out of the news. I'd rather keep, because this is real fear mongering. This is like the threat against your country is the corporation. Like the Chinese are not poisoning your water. It's Americans that are doing it. And there are Americans in Congress right now, in Congress and in the executive branch, that are letting it happen. And I think that needs to be a big rallying cry. That's what I've been trying to get. Anytime I talk to a Republican or any conservative, it's like, I'll let them complain about Joe Biden. I hate Joe Biden too. But as soon as they start talking positive about any of their shit, then that's the point to go, no, they're the same as these Democrats.
Yeah,
no, they're the same as this. They're hurting you. They're not doing this. And that's the whole thing, is that like when any conservative I've been talking to that's been fear mongering about these weather balloons, it is no, but is China poisoning your water? No. Is China poisoning your air and telling you it doesn't exist? No. All they had is a fucking weather balloon that our government wants to say is a spy balloon.
It was a spy balloon. It was definitely a spy balloon, but
well, why would you have a spy balloon that you can see with the naked eye? That's a fucking huge. I'm skeptical about it, Tim, because it's just like they have better technology. They have satellites that are advanced.
They do have satellites. It's
that are way more advanced.
But why would they send a fucking weather balloon over Nebraska over Nebraska.
Why?
Why would they? Why would they give a fuck about learning about the weather in Montana in February?
Weather balloons fucking wander off too. It's also like wherever the fucking wind's blowing to. I don't think you can control a weather balloon by remote. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's also like I think it's pretty much controlling on where the wind's blowing. So and I'm pretty sure there's like hundreds of thousands of weather balloons floating over the United States.
There are
that probably don't belong to America either. So
no,
I mean,
but China has specifically demanded that they want this one back very much, please.
Yeah. Well,
which is a weird amount of attachment to have to a weather balloon.
Well,
I think honestly, I think they were doing spying on Japan, and I think they might have even been doing spying on like the Russian border, and everything got blown off and into Alaska.
Yeah,
I think that's probably what happened.
I mean, that's a possibility, but it's still the coverage of it is still one of these fear mongering. Let's get ready to go to war with the Chinese. You guys ready to go? All they have is weather balloons. It's not like they have advanced AI or anything. Ooh, it's your grandpa's China. Oh, it's a big fucking lie. It's a big lie. And I'd way rather have people focusing on what the real enemy is, which is the people in our government letting this shit happen. That are letting corporations go, no. You can go ahead and piss in our oatmeal. That's fine. You can go ahead and piss in their oatmeal. I don't really care. And as long as I get my money and I can stay in my castle up here and you guys don't piss in my oatmeal, I don't really give a shit. Which is kind of the same kind of logic where it's like oh yeah, I'll launch the red nuclear button because like I might be okay. I have my bunker, but the rest of the world, it's going to be different forever. Fuck it. They should have gotten in a castle like me. It's that same kind of logic. And honestly, we just need to keep outrage up about this. And that's what needs to stay persistent with it. Like when I talk to conservatives about like going to war with other countries, they don't give a shit. They want to go to war. The neocons, like they're all eager to do it because they haven't been to war yet. But if I start talking about, but as soon, and this is very true for many liberals too, as soon as they're personally affected, then they start getting they start wanting to get active about these things. They start wanting to do something about it.
Yes.
And I think that's the kind of rage we had to keep incentivizing people with. And it's sad. It is very sad to see like all the liberals defending this shit and thinking that, oh, it's fine. They deserve it. I mean, because it is like, they don't realize how much they're acting like Republicans, saying that like, oh no, like, oh yeah, like these major cities, yeah, they're fucked. Everyone who lives in a major city deserves whatever they get. They deserve to get robbed. They deserve to have like riots or like whatever fucking horrible thing to happen to them. Where it's just this like this distaste and disdain for your own countrymen when you're ignoring the people who are actually causing these major problems and who are they're just getting away with highway robbery.
Yeah, for sure.
With their permission.
Yeah, no, it's fucked. It's all super fucked. And someone should be telling Norfolk, or someone should be telling the people of East Palestine and Greater Ohio that, you know, if all of a sudden you're more concerned about corporate regulation, don't vote for a neoliberal candidate and don't vote for a conservative. Vote for like the most progressive candidate on the ballot, whoever that may be.
Yeah. Well, we also just start getting to that problem too about like the funding is it's like that has to be like a grassroots candidate that is popular, that is fighting both the institutions with both fists, it's only trying to make friends in ways that are going to benefit what their main cause are. And I feel like in Ohio, like that greater cause is the cleanup and the accountability. Like those two things is that like Ohioans are going to have to clean it up. But Ohioans are not going to pay for it. That corporation that decide to like destroy their river, they are going to pay for it. And the thing is, if they don't want to pay for it, then they will not be a corporation anymore. And they will not be this. And this is fuck businesses. I agree with the entrepreneurial spirit, but fuck these businesses that decide to actually fucking hurt people. If you're a business that decides to hurt people, you deserve to go under. Like this is just full fucking stop here, dude. This is just
the fact that like Boeing, for example, is still allowed to be a company, or California Electric, both of whom killed people. Like Boeing killed hundreds of people, and people forget about that.
Yeah.
And they're still a company. And I this is not, I argue on Reddit too much, but this is another thing I was arguing with somebody about, and they were like, "Well, you know, they paid like over $1 billion for that," and it's like Boeing doesn't give a fuck about.
That's a drop in the bucket.
And if you look at it, most like over half of that like $1.5 billion was to other companies.
Yes,
it was to the airlines.
Right.
The victims got like the victim families got like $1 million each. And the airlines got like $750 million.
And here's the thing: the people who died in those crashes, they pay taxes to keep Boeing afloat. Their tax dollars went to that. Those people who are dead now.
Yes, absolutely. Like a big part of Boeing's business is their defense work, and that money comes from us.
Yes. Just so like, and you know, and that's money well spent, you know, like it's like, you know, you spend money on your taxes, and that gets to be your cause of death. Oh, yikes. And you know, maybe another issue I was thinking about with this too is that since the pandemic is mostly kind of swept under the rug now, and that's no longer a thing, I would think that this environmental disaster and all these people who are getting sick because of it, it'd be another great argument. It'd be another great time for this fraud squad to bring up Medicare for all. But I know they're not going to do that either, because they have their money, and
Medicare for all is dead right now, because there's no way to get at a hearing in Congress right now.
Not right now. I mean, it was possible then, but I'm just saying.
It was possible then. Like, yeah, that I know. I get where you're coming from, but there is honestly no way that Medicare for all could ever reach the floor of the House right now.
Well, I wouldn't reach the floor. No, it wouldn't reach the floor of the House. I'm just saying I want discussion about it, because one of the biggest arguments against Medicare for all is that I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay for Tim's smoking habit. I don't want to pay for Tim when he gets bronchitis. I don't want to do that at all. But the thing is that there's people who are like suffering from health problems because of this environmental disaster,
right?
Their only crime was.
But actually, Medicare for all would dictate that your tax money would go to my bronchitis treatment.
Yes, it would.
And my tax money might go to, I don't know.
It would help those. It would help those people in that environmental disaster. That's what that's the ideal thing. Is it's like you live your life and you live where you're going to live. That's one of those like arguments that I hate, that like those liberals are making right now, is that, well, you shouldn't be living in Ohio. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be there. You deserve it. And it's like, you don't. Like, you really fucking don't. Like, you don't, because like you live in LA, like you don't deserve smoggy lungs because of
it. And a lot of comments being, well, LA, in LA doesn't have any right to talk about like fucking
Yeah.
But they literally moved to a desert and are now trying to like steal the water from like every other state in the country. I've seen a lot of comments being like, oh, if I were East Palestine, I would just move. And it's like, you realize everyone in East Palestine is now underwater on their house.
Yeah.
Just universally, instantly underwater on their house.
and that's before the housing bubble bursts too.
Yeah. Which is also gonna, like, I think that is also happening right now, is that the housing bubble is bursting as we speak.
Yeah. Tune in next time for the housing bubble crash.
Yes. So yeah, that's like, I mean, yeah, like that's kind of East Palestine. It's a big old fucking shit show. Nothing is probably significantly going to happen. They'll announce a couple new regulations in the short term. I think Congress might even pass a new law or something that will be quietly defunded and deregulated as soon as everyone thinks they can get away with it.
Or even if it does get passed, it's going to be toothless and going to be just mostly for show.
Yeah,
it's going to have some fancy. It's going to have some big carrying name that is going to just like be another handout to these corporations, and nothing will change, and nothing will change there. But I would like to keep, if anything, I would like to keep outrage about it. But like, as I pointed out earlier, the mostly like why there's outrage about it still right now is because it's a mostly white population. Like Jackson, if these folks were all black, they would be fucking ignoring it like it's Flint or Jackson, Mississippi. Like there's no question about it. And personally, I would still like, I would like the head of the EPA to be drinking that creek water until he says it's safe. Like,
well, actually, Kelly, no, I think you missed the recent round of political stunts. I think both the EPA director of the federal EPA director, the state EP director, and Governor Mike DeWine have all recently done photo shoots of drinking the water.
Oh yeah, was it in? Was it?
They're
like
doing the classic. Yeah, they're doing the classic Obama Flint thing of this is good water.
Yeah. God damn it. Oh my god, dude. Is it like poisoning the president if you like do give him the Ohio River water? Like is it technically bad? Or is it they just fulfilling they just saying what they're supposed to do? Like that's like fucking God, like fucking like Roosevelt fucking got polio from putting his face into like a fucking into a well at a Boy Scout camp, and like these motherfuckers like need to have Aquafina with them all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus Christ. God help us. God come into existence and please help us.
Please, now would be the time.
Now would be the time.
I had a little note here. Other things to watch politically. The Supreme Court is the only place where like sweeping federal policy can be enacted anymore. It seems. Yes. So that's a place to watch.
Well, and then it sucks because it's packed now too. And honestly, what Joe Biden like, if Joe Biden was like actually going to like reverse what Trump, if his goal was to do that, he would have packed the Supreme Court. Like that's no question about that. No.
I don't think that would have, like, even FDR was probably like the most gifted like Reagan and FDR are probably like the two most like competent and gifted and energetic politicians that we've had in this country in the past 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
Even FDR was not able to successfully pack the courts.
I know.
He overreached on that one and got slapped down pretty hard.
But I mean, how else are we gonna fucking are we just gonna have to like wait through the robber baron age until like these fucking justices die? And then the two parties that are basically all conservative just like keep putting more libertarians in there. Like that's, I mean, that because that's the other option. It's the other option. It's like if there's a person up there with an even ounce of a progressive like notion at all, who's not just pretending, it's like that's what I would support them to do. It's to pack it to overreach, to do this, because God knows, man, these motherfuckers have overreached, and and it's like I can't just like we can't combat that without overreaching. Like these motherfuckers have had their own free reign for like 150 years over this shit. And and they're just getting away with it. And it's I think there needs to be some fucking overreaching. I think like that's the only way that these motherfuckers are going to listen to anything, is that like they need to know that, oh no, it's not just your job that's on the line. It's your livelihood. It's like, it's the keys to your car and your house and your kid's future. Like that's all on the line for you. Unless you decide to do the right thing, which is hard, and you have to do some hard work, and you have to yell at some people, and you might get yelled at, and you have to like face some challenges. You might have some sleepless nights, but guess what? That's what you got elected for. You didn't get elected just to take the fucking handouts and do whatever the fuck you want for corporations.
Yes.
And
I agree. The Supreme Court is tricky because lifetime appointments have gone badly. But I don't like the idea of term limits either. Yeah. Because that sets justices up to be like directly planning out their next moves when they're on the bench.
Yes.
And that's not good either.
Well, I mean, that's true, Tim. I mean, they do it with life anyway. Like they should do. Like Ruth Bader Ginsburg did not plan out her moves wisely, and that's a big reason why we're facing the Supreme Court we are today.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And Anton, I just found this out. Anton Scalia like used to just hang out with some Texas billionaire. Used to just like anytime he wasn't in Washington, he was just like at this billionaire's fucking like ranch in Texas, hanging out, living the sweet life.
You know what I found out? I found out that I gotta look up his name again. The guy who tried to assassinate Ronald Reagan.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Hicks, right? Or Hinckley, John Hinckley Jr.
Yes, John Hinckley Jr. He's out of prison, and
Oh, interesting.
he has a YouTube channel,
Oh my goodness.
right, where he just makes music and shit.
Ha! That's interesting.
And that's the thing. When you're the son of a Texas oil billionaire, and you decide to try to assassinate the president, you can get away with a defense where your lawyers say he had too much junk food, he had too many Twinkies, he was fucked in the head, and he tried to kill the president. So you're just going to have to let him off for that. So that's just another interesting fact.
That is interesting. Shara, do you have a link to his YouTube channel?
Here, I'm gonna get it up right now. Yep, John Hinckley sings "You and I Are Free" original song. Yep. Yeah, dude, it is something. And that's the thing. It's like, God bless you, John Hinckley. You're more popular than us, man. Like your YouTube channel is doing better than us. But
oh, of course,
we haven't tried to we haven't tried to do any of that shit that you're doing, and nor are we planning on it at all.
No, absolutely not.
Fed's like, we are not trying to do that shit at all, man. Well, here. It's, man, there's just, I mean, I know we've been barking up this tree for a long time, but there is just there just needs to be a better way to like hold these powerful entities accountable that they're only controlled by a handful of people.
Yes.
Because
they are. Like Bernie was talking about that recently. I mean, Bernie called out our oligarchical system.
Yeah.
It's fucked. It's fucked.
It really is. And it's sad too, because like in the presidential run, Bernie ain't gonna, if he does decide to run again, he ain't gonna get, like, it's going to be his worst one ever. It's going to be his worst run of all time. So,
and he's already a pretty bad candidate. I love the things he says most of the time, but he's just not an effective candidate. He hasn't been.
I mean, I think that if he would have gotten to the general, he really could have stood a chance against Trump. But
I mean, I feel like a fucking like wooden log. I mean, because Biden didn't have to campaign against Trump.
No.
Like once he had secured the Democratic nomination, he went and like hid out in a bunker to avoid COVID.
Yeah.
Well, aside from a couple of speeches in Delaware and Pennsylvania, he didn't do any in-person campaigning.
No. And there were times when he was doing interviews before, like they threw him in the basement where he was just not doing himself favors. So they decided to just scrap it. They're like, maybe we shouldn't talk to Charlemagne the God. You're not too good with talking to black people when they decide to ask questions. So, or he's not very good at talking to working people either when they decide to challenge him. Like he doesn't react very well. So they decided to hide him in the basement and keep people who are agreeable to him. And I mean, that was his campaign. And who's to say what because I think the Democratic establishment would have definitely railed against Bernie Sanders, like to the fullest T. Like they would have all tried to side Republican. But then again, too, then it's basically, you can try to make the argument to any of these more liberal, libertarian leaning Republicans that it's like, well, do you just want to hand it all away to these motherfuckers? Do you really want do you want to be able to have legal weed? Do you want to have like those little things there? Like you could actually have that.
Legal weed is like one of them, because but I mean, who is Joe Biden as a person? Joe Biden is the consummate politician. I wrote about this on Reddit the other day, but because Bernie commented on how, as president, Biden has been much more progressive than he ever was as a senator.
Yep.
And so people got up in arms about it, being like, oh, he just they're like, oh, he just does his job and represents the views of his constituents. But Biden has never had a moral compass. He has never had a coherent vision for the country. He's never subscribed to like any political ideology consistently. The only way to predict what Joe Biden will do is A, follow the money, and B, look at public opinion polls about big issues.
Yeah.
Because Biden will just, his only concern is there money in it for me, and will it help me get reelected to office?
Yeah. And what's strange is with the pot stuff is it's like he's not getting money. I don't think he's getting, I think if anything, he's probably getting money to go against it. He's probably getting money from various corporations to go against that type of thing. But
yeah, like the alcohol corporations don't want legal weed.
Yeah. Or I imagine maybe not credit card companies either, because that's why you can't buy stuff with a credit card in legal states.
Really?
Yeah, you have to go to an ATM and pay with cash for many of them, or pay with a debit card.
I don't think that's the case in like at least over like closer to the West Coast.
That might be that
establishments
I think Illinois got that going for them.
Illinois does have that going.
So
no, I think I've used a card in Illinois before. Yeah, I think you can use a card in Illinois.
Yeah. But either way, it's
because I know like in Wisconsin, for example, the Tavern League has been the biggest like establishment opponents of legalization.
Where it's like, how the fuck these business owners all have a union for themselves? Like that's what's crazy. Because that's
fucking love coming together and collective action when it comes to businesses.
Yes, they really love that. Like that's where it's like, oh no, it's not hurting it. They're not going, oh no, but these tavern leagues, they protect the shitty taverns. They protect the shitty ones. I'm like, yeah, they do. Yeah, of course they do. Like. They protect all of them, whether they're good or fucking bad. And it's like, yeah,
I think the Tavern League is like shooting themselves in the foot there. I really do. Because like, I don't think, and especially in Wisconsin, it has not been my experience that being a alcoholic and a stoner are mutually exclusive conditions.
No. Well, if anything, a lot of these people, like they'll just go to the bar and then like they'll want to go home and do the other thing. So then there's more incentive to leave. But if that bar is actually like selling this legally on the side, where it's like they're doing with cigarettes, then it's more reason just to hang out at the bar all night.
Yeah.
Like it's
absolutely. I don't get what the problem is.
Right. Oh, get it, Tim. All right. See, that is how working class people light a cigarette. When your lighter don't work,
you grab a blowtorch.
You grab your blowtorch. This is how our fathers who were welding in World War II, making tanks and stuff, how our forefathers are doing it. When they had to light a cigarette, they just fucking put up that hood, took it there, lit it right up. And that's
right up.
Yep, that's hood right up. To all right. Well, really on East Palestine, it's like many of these issues. We keep getting down to like, well, fuck, like how do we do it? How do we organize people? How do we keep people angry enough? And it's probably like, I would probably argue, how do we educate them enough where they need to know like who's against it? And I think a part of education too is it's important to not talk down to people. It's important to listen about what their concerns are and then just like springboard off of that into like what the common interest is that like isn't matching with the Republicans or the Democrats.
Yeah.
And to see what they need. And this kind of gets into like what a third party would do, where it's like ideal. Like it's like, I don't expect a third party to win within the next election cycle or like the next 4 or 5. I don't expect that at all.
Until we revise the way we do elections and ranked choice voting becomes the like standard law of the land, I don't think any third party vote has much of a chance.
I'm even still nervous about ranked choice voting because in New York, that's how we got Eric Adams. And people were really excited about ranked choice voting, including myself. But then when I was watching this race, I was seeing there was like 85 left trying to be progressive candidates that were trying to like all like push each other through shove each other to get into the door first. And no one could really unite anybody. And so then Eric Adams just won. And that's a big problem I see.
That is how it will be reflected in leadership. Like if you look at like the UK, that pretty much no matter who is in charge, conservative or labor, they always need to have a coalition that kind of clusters around the center.
Yeah.
But what they also have is extremist like parties in there. And like there was a whole Brexit party in the UK that never held like federal, countrywide political leadership, but was enough of a presence in parliament to entirely complete their agenda in a span of like 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, so I mean, like there is something to be said that it's like ranked choice voting is a way to get. It's a way to get people to. It's a way to get like a faction that may not be as popular at the time. To get. Well, I mean, that's the thing. They have to be popular. It's a democracy. It has to be popular.
Bernie is technically an independent, right? But like,
yeah.
But like, in all honesty, he's a Democrat.
Yep.
Because he fucking has to be.
Yes.
He has to go on national television shows and say that he will back Biden for a re-election bid because he is a Democrat. Like, and there's no one. I mean, he can't really say anything else.
If he was independent, he would have done a dirty break. He would have done a dirty break, which is what I was advocating for.
Right, but he was running for president as a Democrat because he could not, like, there was no feasible way for him to actually run for president as an independent.
No feasible. I mean,
he declared it. His nomination was under the auspices of the Democratic Party because you need access to that two-party primary system to seek federal office in this country, realistically.
Then you can just try to like run yourself as independent and continue campaigning. I mean, that's what Trump would have done if he didn't get the nomination.
And that's what Trump. I honestly, I hope that's what Trump does this upcoming time too.
I hope he does too, because
if he fails to secure the nomination, I hope he declares himself an independent.
Because it's going to shoot Republicans in the foot, and that's the whole threat of it, though. The threat of it is to do it, and Bernie Sanders was just kind of getting cucked into going, well, you don't want to give the election away to Donald Trump, and they're going to blame him for getting Donald Trump in office. Like they still keep blaming him for getting Donald Trump in office in 2016. They'll blame him. They'll blame Julian Assange. They'll blame anyone besides Hillary Clinton. Anyone besides her. Like she didn't lose the election, much like how Trump lost in 2020. It's the cheating. It's China.
Right.
It's anyone's fault but his own.
But at the same token, my opinion about Bernie is that it was not the DNC that cost him the election. It was the fact that he was a lousy candidate. In
2016, it was the DNC, in my opinion. But in 2020, he decided to kneel to Joe Biden. He didn't take him on the issues. He didn't call him like the racist. He didn't call him out for being the racist that he is. He didn't want to use any of it because he was too afraid of hurting the candidate, which is what I think that little meeting that Obama and Bernie Sanders had in 2016 when he was running against Hillary Clinton. I think Obama was kind of trying to give him the, okay, so last time I ran against Hillary, I kind of took it away from her, and it's her turn now. I just want to let you know, I know you want to get these issues out here. Just know that, when you lose, you just got to make it a clean break. You got to support her. Otherwise it's going to be Donald Trump, and it's going to be on you. And it's like, well, but it's really just more on the candidate and what they're deciding to run on. And the idiots that they listen to as well, like these political advisors that decide to tell them, like, talk about having hot sauce in your purse. That's gonna get over those voters that aren't popular with you very much. Instead of trying to advocate for actual policy, it's gonna give a shit about them. But
yeah,
because that's the whole thing. Is that like I don't think Bernie Sanders is like the perfect. He's not the fucking guy to do it. But who the fuck else is gonna be advocating these things? Like, and actually gonna be serious about it? Like, and it's nobody. Like, no one in that squad is fucking serious about any of this. All of them, every single fucking person in that goddamn squad wants to just be another Nancy Pelosi. They just want to advance their fucking.
I don't think that's entirely fair. They do want to advance their political career.
Yep.
But like, I mean, they are also in a shitty spot. They are.
They had great positioning in 2020. They had fucking fantastic. They were that little minority that could really shake shit up. And the Republicans are doing that right now. Those extreme Republicans are now getting like their voices more heard.
You're absolutely
than
right.
any of those motherfuckers did. And that's the whole thing, is that they are incompetent. They are incompetent, and they choose.
Yes. But I feel.
I'm sorry, Tim. I'm yelling.
No. I mean, I get what you're saying, and we I think we even did an episode about that. But yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. But like Nancy Pelosi has never talked about half the things that the squad is talking about.
Talking, it's like the talk is cheap. Talk means
right,
fucking nothing.
But from Nancy Pelosi, you never even got talk. Like the idea of like limiting stock trading in Congress never even got on the floor under Nancy.
Yeah, and the thing is too is that like Ilhan Omar and AOC aren't going to be talking about Israel very much, because guess what? It's not going to be popular with a lot of their constituents at all. They're not going to actually stand for anything that's like right or anything they were standing for originally, because that's not going to be popular for their career in the future. And when AOC was running originally, she was saying that, oh, if you can just do all these brave things if you're willing to be a one-term senator. If you're willing to just be like a one-term congressman, then you can get all this shit done. And she decided to not go down that route. She decided to go, no, Nancy Pelosi is going to whisper something in my ear, and then I'm going to vote neutral on the funding for Israel's Iron Dome. Like this type of shit, this type of like this, they end up voting the same way. She ends up voting the same way as her predecessor did. And it's like, I don't give a fuck what she's talking about. I don't give a fuck about her going to the gala. All that does is piss people off and make her seem out of touch, which she is. Like, it's like, it's like, and that's the thing. It's like, it's this fucking lie. And that's the thing. It's like, that's all these progressives, and Bernie Sanders too. Bernie Sanders was a compromise for me as well, because there's plenty of things I don't see eye to eye with him on. But he was the only motherfucker trying to actually advocate for Medicare for all. He was the only person trying to advocate for something that would actually make everyone's life in America better.
Yes.
But and it's going to be a hard fight.
But Bernie has also voted pro-Israel many times.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's where I'm like, his foreign policy on many things I disagree with him on. And right. Like, don't get me wrong on it. That's why
I'm not willing to write AOC off either, just over the Israel thing. I'm not.
It's many things with AOC for me, but that's just an example of. I was just using it as a fortitude of like, she has one thing in her.
I just don't want to preemptively. Like, obviously, her political career is where it is right now. I am willing to keep an open mind about any progressive candidate going forward, because we need somebody.
We do.
We need somebody.
But
like,
I'm not
like when when you're talking to conservatives and you're like, both sides are bad. The thing you need is instead vote for this person.
Yeah, but there's no one there. Like,
there's no one. There is no
squad
one.
Are not those people. Like, those are the type of people who I talk to conservatives and I'm like, yeah, I hate these people too. Like, yeah, they're pieces of shit for different reasons, mind you. But like, I'm like, yeah, I hate them too. Like, I can't stand them. I'm just trying to spread that type of. Like, I'm just trying to get them to hate the politicians that they trust, because like they know they're full of shit. But mostly what they're concerned about is like, they're just focusing on that
right.
On the dumb culture war shit. That's just like, like they're trying to get them like emotionally charged about like someone using the bathroom that they don't like, that they don't fucking like. And, distrusting your neighbor type of shit, which is mostly, I want to just try to get at that. No, you should be able to trust your neighbor, and you should be able to be, and what's going to make that easier is like, if they have enough financial resources and they have enough of a future that they don't have to worry about like what that fucking person's going to do to them, because everyone's taken care of right now. Like it's just a simple fact of like, if you're in a neighborhood where everyone's got employment, people are not worried about what's going to happen day to day. It's a safer and happier place to be. And that's unbelievably true. But then you go to areas where industry has left and there is not much economic prosperity, and people are not really, and people like have to stay home with their kids and have to worry about like budgeting what they have based on the McDonald's salary. It's a hellish world it creates. It's a third world war. It's a third world you start creating in America. But that just comes down to capitalism. Is that's like, you need to have that lower class to be exploited, to have those ultra wealthy, to have those Pete Buttigieg, those people. Well, Pete Buttigieg ain't quite there with them. Pete Buttigieg is just kind of their tool, but You know,
Yeah.
you need to have those people just kind of, you know, you need to have those people to be you need to extract from somebody. And that's the problem is that, and it's like, yeah, I would rather extract from the top and bring it all down because they can handle it. The Van Sylviers have enough money to end homelessness. They do. They do.
They do.
They do. But just they do. They do. Sorry. We could probably have a government that's powerful enough to come and take that if it's run by people. Like there's enough people in the world to go and take their shit. Like that's the other option. That's like, and I'm not incentivizing anything. I'm just saying like that's what the might, that's what when society falls, that's like what might makes right is. And we're kind of like facing that because we're failing the obligations of society.
Yeah.
Like the
No,
bare minimum.
Yeah, it's bad. All right. Well, I guess that's our message. East Palestine, it's bad, and stay angry about it.
Stay very furious about it. Stay furious at progressives. Stay furious at these fucking MAGA Republicans. Stay furious at the moderates. Really give it to those moderates for sitting on the fucking fence. Make sure if they're going to sit on the fence, make sure one of those little pokies that go up on the fence go right up their butt.
Yeah.
Make sure it goes right up there. Make them uncomfortable to sit on that fence. Because there's only one correct side. There's only one right side. And it's not the right wing either.
All right.
What you looking up, Tim?
I am typing a response to somebody on Reddit.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
I was gonna say
I'm fighting the good fight still.
you're fighting the fight against. Okay, Tim is taking on the federal bots on r/politics. So go and join him if you really need to. And while you're at it, like, subscribe. And share if you want to. And if you want, leave a comment. Just discuss with us what you think we're getting wrong, what you think you'd actually like to see here. If you have any strategy at all, fucking give it to us. Fucking give it to us. Give it to the world. We just want to have ideas. We're just trying to spitball here how we can get here. But keep it safe for the internet because you never know when the feds are watching.
All right. Well, I think that's all for us for today. So until next time, keep working.
Keep on working.